Welcome to the award-winning Authors Show, where we guide professionals in crafting a lasting legacy through the art of self-publishing. We help you remove self-doubt from your mind with our proven process to become a published author. We have helped authors all over the world to publish their books since 2002. I'm your host, Lisa Umina, CEO of Halo Publishing International. If you're ready to become an award-winning author, let's get started. Hi, Dave. Thank you so much for joining us. You know that you're a special friend to me and a special guest, and I thought, what better way to bring back our podcast show and having you be a part of that. And you definitely have enough to talk about when we talk about becoming a children's author with 12 activity books, 3 children's books already published, and you have 2. We always, Dave, these are our conversations though. You know this. You'll say I have 2 more, and then I talk to you, you have 3 more, right? So let's start there. Let's talk about obviously the theme and when you put all this together, and that was, disconnecting from the digital and reconnecting with those that matter. Why don't I start there, but also ask you about you and tell us a little bit about you and how this all came together.
Well, you might have heard me say before, I'm from a big family. I have lots of nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews, but I only have 2 grandkids. And, when I was younger, I asked my brother Chuck, who had 3 wonderful daughters. When my first daughter was born, I said, so what's the secret to being a good parent? And he said, you're going to make mistakes. You just want to be there. That's really the key. You want to be there. So when it came to being a grandparent, I didn't have any experience, but I figured the same rule applied. You just want to be there. So, and, as you point out, we live in an age of social media. And so connecting with the family has always been very important to me. I make an effort to reach out to nieces, nephews, cousins, aunts, uncles, and visit them when I can. I used to travel a great deal, and as luck would have it, I had relatives nearby in many places that I visited. So that was a big part of it. And I wanted to create a framework for kids, grandparents, and their grandkids, and then of course later we spawned friends and family merit badges, because I found out in my travels that many people didn't have grandkids, or they didn't have grandparents that were alive. So that's really what got me started. I guess I wanted to be an author. I used to tell my daughter, if I could write like you, I'd have been an author. And when I toasted her at her wedding, though, I said, I lied to you all these years. The truth is, if I could write half as good as you, I'd have been an author. So, and because she's a successful author, and she's really the book she reads.
It runs in the family. Usually it starts with the parents, but maybe it starts with the kids, and then the parents are motivated to do this. So when you talk about your children's books, because I know you started with the activity books first, that's how we both were introduced. And I love the concept because just even, obviously, like you had mentioned, everyone's on their cell phones. You go to your grandparents and the grandkids are like, Grandpa, Grandma, what can we do? What can we do? And I think if you can just explain to us really these activity books and what it all entails when they have this activity together, what does it entail?
Well, the activity books are, as you know, they come in a book form with merit badges that are part of it in the book that you cut out and paste, and they're simple activities. Visit the zoo, take a walk, fly a kite, go to the park. And each merit badge then has a page that they refer to, and they take the merit badge and put it on the page, and they write about it, and they record the date. They both record parent, grandparent. They record the activity and what their memories were. Maybe they draw a picture Maybe they take a picture and post it, but it's meant as an activity framework for them, and then it's also becomes a memory book that they can cherish the rest of their lives.
Not only that, David, becomes memories that they remember for the rest of their lives. Because the most simplest things that we do with children, obviously they're impressionable and they want that intimate time with us, and a lot of people don't know how to do it. They don't know what to do with their grandkids, even with their own kids, right? So when you talk about, having these memories, that's what they remember, not the gifts that they get at Christmas, not the gifts that they get on their birthday. It's that you took them to a baseball game, or you went fishing with them, or spent that quality time together. And that's what I love about this whole project is when we step away, because I just had this conversation the other day, like children don't even know how to use their imagination. I used to garbage pick wood and nails and build these forts upon forts, or have, these things that we just build together. My brother and I are our friends, and the imagination and the army that we played and all these little things. And then you talk to my family and they're like, so what are you doing? I don't know, but I have this many likes on my social media pages. And I'm like, you're missing the most important time of your life. I think even the interruption of COVID kind of was like a big way of saying, hey, don't forget you, take the pause in life and go back to the simplicity of life. And so for me, I thought, gosh, if anyone went into COVID and came out the same way, shame on you. But just this idea that you came up with this concept of showing people literally, really not to take the most simplistic things for granted. Because yeah, you put the badges together like fishing and, going to an aquarium. Those kids will remember that for the rest of their life, And you're showing them how to use their imagination, especially when you have to go fishing because you have to sit there and wait, so long. But aside from that, every single story that you put together is allowing like you had said, I mean, and this is something I'm so impressed by you too, is that you really do care about people. You're a very authentic person. So what you write is just a reflection of who you are. I'm still thinking about the day that you met all your friends that you grew up with and you made them that homemade Italian wedding soup. So you get it. But in our new generations, they don't understand how to really slow down and get away from this addiction of being this perfect person or getting many likes. How many likes can you get? I mean, these are the teenagers. So if you can instill this now with a young age, just imagine that finally we can just change this rut we're in of, losing ourselves into this digital world that we live in. So I commend you. I commend you on this. And to be a partner in this, obviously I'm honored and humbled at the same time. So talk to me, if, sharing just some practical tips for our listeners and ways that they can disconnect by even using your books or some ideas in your books that you could say, hey, here's a list of things right away you could do today.
I think the phone and the iPad can be great tools. I love talking to family members on FaceTime and people that I don't see very often. Same with the iPad. So connecting with your family is a good thing. But when the iPad or the iPhone becomes kind of your life, where you're spending so much time on it, and your friends are all on social media and so forth, I think that's a bad practice. And I think the best thing you can do is to teach kids to, first of all, to take things in moderation and learn how to think for themselves.
Yeah.
Don't just parrot everything that you hear or see. It always saddens me a bit when I see these things on TikTok where there's some kind of challenge that they put out to kids, and it seems like millions of kids do things, and some of them get hurt doing them.
Yeah.
And I don't really. I know it's difficult in the age that we live in. I don't think my grandson, I don't think he knows what a desktop computer is. He didn't grow up that way. And
Right.
so it is a matter of finding simple ways because it is simple things. I take my grandson to breakfast every Friday, and I should have thought about bringing a copy. So one of the things that we do is we look for school buses because there's always school buses out there. And so we made a chart handmade a chart, dates across the top and bus numbers down the side. And when we see the bus, he marks it. And because we see them in the restaurant that we go to, we see them in the parking lot on the street. And it's a very simple thing, but it is often the simple things that are the best because
Yes.
they're easy to duplicate, and they're just great times. So
The other thing I noticed too, when you think about when you're doing the fishing or flying a kite, you're going back to something I think you and I both grew up in a world where we had traditions. You know, it was always like, hey, we're going to go to grandmother's house on Sundays. You know, no matter what, we're going to grandma's on Sundays, or my dad meeting me for lunch. And in those times, it really stick out in your mind is just setting up those traditions that your grandson really looks forward to. Like it's something that he knows he can count on you for. And so for me, I think that's important that not only are you're showing people or showing right how to connect with your young ones is just building traditions, because that's the other thing I think we got away from. Nobody's doing those things. And then, oh, the sad thing that hurts me is I go to a restaurant and I see a family with all their kids and everyone's on a cell phone, including the mom and dad. Oh,
I that saddens me when I see that in restaurants where
yeah.
people are, they're there to be together, and yet they're, spending time on the phone. So yeah.
You're changing
And
the
the
world,
best way,
Dave, book by book, book by book,
you
you're
know,
changing the world.
the best way to do that is to just, put the phone down, put the iPad down, and find simple things to do. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be time consuming. I often in the morning I go and get my grandson on the bus. That's all. I go there for 10 minutes. I say good morning to him. I get him on the bus. He and I have a thing. Whenever we part from one another, I say, "See you later, alligator," and he says, "After a while, crocodile." And now we're working on that in 5 different languages. So,
Oh, yeah, speaking
uh,
of languages, Dave, that's the other thing, your books are in Spanish. So you're learning Spanish too, as you're also having these books published
we
in
are
language.
we're gonna learn Spanish and German and Japanese and Italian
Oh,
how to
wow.
say "see you later, alligator." And he doesn't miss a beat. If I'm leaving the house and I haven't said it, he'll say it. So
Oh, remind us
it's
how old your grandson is.
he's my grandson is 6.
6.
My second grandson is 18 months,
Oh,
and they're just they're growing like crazy. It's
for the
great to
loves of
watch.
your life. They're your muse, right? For your books. You use them to motivate you
Well,
to
I
get these
can't
stories.
really, you know,
So,
I try to vary the characters and use people that surround me, and in one way or another to hint at because friendships and family, it's my neighbors too. I lived in the same house for 35 years, and one of the reasons was because I had the same neighbors for most of that time.
wow.
And I had great neighbors, still do, and that's important to me. And so, in some ways, the dog book, for example, is going to involve, muses, as you say, of some of the neighbors, because they invoke memories as well. I mean, our kids grew up together, and
Yeah, they're a part of our
yeah,
family. It's a family
yeah,
member. Absolutely.
no question about it. No
I'm gonna,
question about it.
I want to switch gears a little bit because we talk about you as an author, but we always want to find out in one way or another the end user. I think of this all the time when it comes to marketing these concepts. When you talk about nonprofit organizations, I think of a lot of them in Cleveland, the Boys and Girls Club. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations that children don't have a role model or a consistent one like you, right? That's in their life. And I'm just thinking if they just stumbled upon a book like this, and that's something that you and I have talked about too, where if we can get the word out and let nonprofit organizations, schools, any type of educational libraries. I'm just thinking that you can get a hold of one of your books, and they're available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble all over the world, actually in 190 countries. But just locally, when we go back to Cleveland, because I'm a big part of Cleveland, and I know there was a lot of nonprofit organizations that love to have authors like you that come in, that inspire children and also have these tools. That's what I think of. You call it an activity book. I call it a tool. It's a tool that every family should have, because they forget how to be a family. They forget how to communicate, or to communicate well. And so it goes back to even that miscommunication. And then you have that disconnect even with the families. So even if you can take your activity books, or obviously reading to your children with the children's books, that intimate time, because that's what you're really building on. It's just letting people know, right, yeah, that we can be out there. These are great books for anyone that needs help knowing how to build a relationship. And it starts with building an activity, getting a badge after going fishing or reading a book or gardening together. Those are all the simplistic things that you and I can think of and say, oh, that comes so easy for me. That's a no-brainer. Like if I have my nephew with me and he visits me here, I've got a list of things. I actually send him an agenda of what we're going to do. And the last thing we're going to be is on our cell phones. So for me, I love that you can instill this with this whole series that you're putting together with activity books and children's books. So do you have, just to end the interviews, or something else that you want to share with our listeners, something that we didn't cover in this beautiful interview?
Well, you started to mention, part of my endeavor here is nonprofits. As you know, I sit on the board here in Cleveland of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, but Summit Metro Parks is important to us. Holden Forest and Gardens, Wags for Kids. These are groups that are important. The Cleveland Food Bank, and
right? Just to name a few.
We're trying to
Amazing.
we're trying to extend that. In fact, I'm making arrangements with the food bank to share the grandparent merit badges with the senior baskets that go out.
Oh,
nice. I think I told you I met with Books for Kids here in Cleveland. We're going to talk about how to enhance Grandparents' Day come September, which I think is very important.
Beautiful. Good.
So,
that's exciting. That's super exciting.
That's a big part of what what we're trying to do, and and as I say, sometimes, as Phil Knight put it, just do it.
Just do it. Absolutely.
Don't hesitate.
You're doing it, Dave, and I think it's really important to, when someone lists about being connected in Cleveland, you really are, and I commend you for that. Part of what I've learned, even as an author, was when working in the inner city, the children don't have money to buy books. I mean, I would prefer, if I'm going to do an event, that I can donate the books and they can keep their money to have lunch, eat, do, school supplies was a big thing when I worked in the inner city. So for me, I love that you're building those partnerships. And again, if there's some way that Halo can be a part of that, that I would be. So if there's something that you're doing it with any of those organizations that we can help, let us know. And I have no problem partnering with you on that. I'd like to come into Cleveland. I also want to meet with a few of the people that some of my friends are your friends. And I think we can do some amazing things together by getting the word out there and getting these books out to the people that need it, that can afford it as well, and building the relationships. And that's the goal.
It is indeed. You've been very helpful in pointing me in the right direction. A few people here in town, and I'm glad that the books are, well received. People like them. I did want to mention that all the books include a couple of blank pages and blank merit badges where you design your own activities.
Right.
It's not that hard to figure out how to. There may be something special, and as you know, these spawned different activities. The gardening book and the dog lovers book, and which of course helped us with the children's series, Lucas and Emily. So
absolutely, we also want to mention too, Bonnie Lemire has been your illustrator through the whole series of children's books. And just to remind our listeners that you can find Dave's books again on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, Books A Million. You can download an ebook. You can get the book in Spanish. So Sí. Si hablas en español, si hay un libro en español. So, Dave, I just want to thank you so much from my bottom of my heart for joining me on my show. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You know that. And I think we should have another one. So you keep writing. We're just going to have another interview and
I'll
talk
keep
about
writing.
more of the
I
amazing
enjoy
things that
it.
you're doing. Okay?
I appreciate your encouragement. Thank you.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're ready to publish your book, please submit your manuscript on halopublishing.com, or you can download our free publishing guide to learn everything you need to know about the entire self-publishing process. Start writing your legacy today.